Right.
So
All
Andrew,
right.
would you like to start us off?
All right. Thank you for joining us through the workshop today for introductions. Tyne Hertz is a professor at San Diego Miramar College and the director and founder of Rec Innovation Labs. The Rec Innovation Lab provides resources to underrepresented founders to launch high-growth, high-value companies. I'll pass it off to Rohan.
And it is with special excitement that I'm pleased to welcome Madison Campbell. Madison is a trailblazer, a sexual assault advocate, and a well-seasoned entrepreneur. Previously, she led a software development shop called Iyanu based in Nigeria. Today, she's working hard to promote autonomy and self-actualization of sexual assault survivors as the CEO of Leda Health by developing and providing resources to help overcome their difficult trauma. Please join me in welcoming Madison. Take us away, Madison.
Awesome. Okay. Hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, when I first got introduced to Tanya, we were talking about things that we could talk about that, you know, in my short time as kind of in an entrepreneur, and I say short time, like last like 5 years, I've done a lot of things badly, and I've done a lot of things on mistake that have ended up being really good. And one of the things that I've learned a lot about is the press and PR. I think this is gonna, you know, 0 to 1,000 really means how myself and as our company went from 0 press mentions to over 1,000 individual press mentions. We probably have more at this point, all within 28 days of starting our company. It's been around a year since we started our company. So a lot of lessons have been learned. PR is a very interesting topic, and I'm really excited to kind of share what I learned and how it hopefully will be able to help you guys on your entrepreneurship journey. So to give a background on me, I am, you know, starting a company for sexual assault survivors. I myself am a sexual assault survivor, you know, founder and CEO in that order. You know, I kind of put my passion on the line and took something that was very traumatic to most people, but, you know, allowed myself to kind of utilize it in a way to create real change and real passion behind the product that we are creating, which is the first ever at-home rape kit. So sexual assault survivors don't have to go to the hospital. They can do it, the forensic evidence collection within the comfort of their own home. So I want to tell you about essentially how our company blew up. And this is going to seem weird, but first emailing every single college president in the United States. This is how I did it. So I started a company, as I was talking about, which is creating the first ever at-home sexual assault evidence collection kit. In doing that, as I'm sure you guys probably know, 1 in 4 college students are sexually assaulted. So what I really, really wanted to do was to get these kits on every college campus nationwide. In order to do that, you know, I'm kind of, instead of looking for introductions to these organizations, instead of just going one by one, maybe to my alma mater and then slowly building, I was like, you know, all these emails are public. I collect all these emails, and then I'm going to email every single person at once. So I know this doesn't seem directly into press, but it will get into press very, very soon. So at the very beginning of the company, we really thought about our distribution strategy wanting to be universities. And so the first thing I did was send out an email. Now, you know, taking this away from just what we did, you know, thinking about the companies that you guys are building or will build in the future, think about, you know, what market you're going to be in. Is it direct to consumer? Is it B2B? If it is B2B, collecting all those emails is super important, and then being able to kind of run with it and you know, be able to email all those people with no shame, no fear that maybe they won't reply to you, maybe they won't even look at the email, but knowing that you're putting yourself out there. That's super important in an early stage company when you don't have a lot of, you know, money, right, to kind of do ad spend or do, you know, kind of other less grassrootsy approach. So how did I go from sending out literally an email to creating controversy? So I sent out an email, as discussed, to every single college president in America. In doing that, I ended up emailing the college president of Michigan State University. I'm going to open this up to the crowd, but does anyone know what happened at Michigan State University?
I don't know.
And
Is this where FERPA started, or from what happened on Michigan State, the FERPA laws were developed from that point?
Close. Anyone else? Michigan State University, big controversy that happened.
And feel free, if you'd like, you can put your answer in the chat, or you can just unmute yourselves and just speak up. Let us know what you think.
So I'll give you a hint. Does anyone know about the US Olympics gymnastics scandal that happened with Larry Nassar, who was a coach who sexually assaulted over 200 Olympians?
Heard about.
Yeah. You guys might have heard about that. Ali Reisman, Simone Biles. It was a big court case. Yeah. So I emailed the president of Michigan State University, and I basically said, hey, I think you guys need some rape kits. Might have been a little bit on the nose. And how do you think they responded? You think they were like, oh, great. Thank you so much for letting me know that our campus, which had, by the way, all of these sexual assaults that we kind of pushed underneath the rug, so, oh my God, I'm so thankful that you're, pointing this out. They were not happy, right? They were a little bit upset. And so they sent my letter talking about, kind of the rape kits that we were doing to the Attorney General of Michigan. The Attorney General of Michigan sent us a cease and desist letter the next morning, went into the press about it, and then sent a cease and desist letter to every single Attorney General, or sent our cease and desist letter that we got from Michigan to every single Attorney General in America. And all within 28 days, we received 16 cease and desist letters, 5 subpoenas, 2 statewide bills introduced to try to ban our product even before it was invented. And what I don't have on here was 16 members of Congress also wrote us in opposition of what we were doing. So, kind of to take you through my mind, right? I was freaking out. I was so freaking out because I'm like, oh my God. And some of you guys might be there in kind of, your development of an idea, but I literally, this is 28 days, right? I was part of an accelerator program, very similar to kind of, the things that REC does. I put up a Squarespace website. I sent out that email, and then I sent it out to a couple friends of mine, and this is what happened, right? This is the craziness that happened. And so it became this huge, big domino effect where once a smaller publication started to cover it, more publications started to cover it over and over again. But this was not a bad thing. So there is a saying in press that all press is good press. This was actually, the reason why we're still here today, the reason why a lot of good things have happened to us. So I'm going to tell you some advice that I was told early on, and then some advice that I kind of came up with, in this process is, one, if you're not making anyone mad, like anyone mad with your idea, it's probably not a big enough idea. And I kind of learned that, right? Like what we're trying to do is completely revolutionize and change the criminal justice system. That is a radical idea. And so it's going to scare a lot of people that believe the status quo is okay. And so in starting a company, right, you're focusing on your problem and your solution. When you're looking at that problem, really trying to figure out how big of a problem is this? And if it is a big enough problem, the act of you fixing it and coming up with a solution better than the solution that currently exists is going to make people angry. That is not a bad thing. That is a good thing. Second piece of advice I was given, I'll give 3 pieces of advice here, but second piece of advice I was given from an early marketing advisor who has a lot of PR experience was, Madison, the worst case scenario is you put your idea out there and you get a cease and desist letter. And the second worst thing to ever happen is you get a second cease and desist letter, which I definitely took that advice to heart. And third piece of advice is, we got a lot of regulatory kind of drama that essentially happened. And I learned early on about attorney generals, regulators, or these big companies that are going to try to smash, try to smash you as a small company early on. That attorney generals are essentially PR firms with subpoena power. Their whole goal is to eventually run for governor. And so in running for governor, their goal is, and like any politician, as we're now seeing with the elections kind of coming up, their goal is to create as much attention as humanly possible. So getting something from an attorney general, you know, and getting in the press with that, oh, I oppose this, oh, I think this is bad, not necessarily a bad thing. Know that they have their own motives and are going into the press for those reasons. You know, so that led us to over 1,000 individual mentions in the press and some of the news sources that you see below. I mean, basically every major news source covered this. We were on TV at the kind of crux of everything that was happening 600 to 900 times per day. And then things started to eventually slow down. But, you know, in kind of everything that was happening, I was going to have to do like 8 to 9 interviews per day on like Zoom calls and things like that, talking to reporters. It was very stressful, but you get the adrenaline running and you start being able to really handle it. So, you know, what did we do, right? As you can kind of see, we did not shy away. Instead, we embraced the press, even though a lot of it was negative press. We did not take it personal, even though it was. People called me names and still do on my personal appearance, like demon eyes, you look like a praying mantis. People make YouTube videos like attacking my appearance, which is really horrible and often happens to female founders as well and underrepresented founders. You know, I've gotten death threats on Twitter, amongst other things. You know, I try not to take it personal. It's so easy for people to be so aggressive when they've never met you online. So don't take anything personal that people write about you. We did not overact. No reaction was sometimes even better. So, you know, we did not go out and say, oh my God, you know, like this is horrible. This is the worst thing happening. We just took it as, okay, it's a learning experience. We're going to take it day by day and handle it. And we focused on the product and the mission and not the noise that the press was creating. So we used a lot of the press to really focus on what is our product, what is our core mission, and what do our customers want. And instead of, you know, going out into the press and saying, oh, well, this really sucks, maybe I should shut down the company, it seems like all these folks don't believe in what I'm doing, we said, okay, they have concerns, we can go back to the, you know, product and address those concerns. And meanwhile, we've identified, you know, a lot of early stage customers who were like, yeah, this product, you know, needs to exist. And you're going to find those early adopters in the early press. But we also learned a lot of things, unfortunately, the hard way. So at the very beginning of the company, it's myself and my co-founder. Obviously, I'm a female founder. My co-founder is a first-generation immigrant originally from Kathmandu, Nepal. At the beginning, people basically thought we were like two white guys, like in Silicon Valley. And so we didn't show our faces that much. And being able to show your faces, the face behind like the controversy that you're creating or the press that you're creating is very, very important to kind of like create a human behind what's actually being written. I did not do this enough. I kind of like didn't put photos out there, didn't go and like use my face to like talk on TV shows as much. I was a little bit scared. Looking back, I would have done that more. I also had a lot of people that were kind of guiding me on like the narrative that I needed to take. And when I was getting guidance from, you know, whether it was lawyers or PR people, they were kind of telling me like I should take this narrative, and it wasn't actually the narrative that I believed in. I'm a fighter, honestly. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm a fighter. And so I really wish that instead of being, you know, so, oh my God, I'm so sorry we did this type of thing, I kind of fought back. And that goes into the third point. You know, when you believe something and it's your mission and the narrative behind why you're doing it, fight back, because it might be the only chance you have to really, you know, say your point, right? And talk about what you really want to do. So we've gone silent, but we're working, you know, because mission over noise and ego is a really big thing. So when all the press happened, we actually went back to the drawing board and we revamped the product, and we decided to be very silent in the press in doing that. Because at the end of the day, it's very, very important to focus on the mission of what you're doing and not the ego that comes out of constantly being in the press. I do have to say that it's one of those things that I constantly have to deal with, is the adrenaline you get of constantly being mentioned in the press, knowing there's news articles, knowing people know your name, knowing people are reaching out to you. It brings your ego up, you know, whether it's good press or bad press, it kind of inflates like your head and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing something so important, all these people care. It's very, very bad because, you know, having that intense ego actually takes you away from building the product. I had to start realizing that early on, and still to this day, I work on it all the time. But in going silent, it actually led us to getting good PR. And so why was that? We actually, you know, were able to show that during COVID-19, sexual assault survivors were able to utilize our kits because during COVID-19, sexual assault survivors were considered non-essential patients. And so we were able to get those survivors kits. It really, really made a huge impact. And even though all the bad press had happened, it led us to eventually getting good press. So this is when before I actually go forward, I think there were some questions in the chat, but if anyone has questions, why don't we open it up to questions? And then I'm going to kind of go into like what should be a general press strategy, not just kind of what happened to us. Anyone? For some reason, it won't let me look at the chat, or else I would.
So sorry about that. I will look at the chat here and let you know if we have any direct questions. So
I have a question.
Questions from Melissa. Go ahead, Melissa. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still confused as to why there's so much bad press or adversity around a subject like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a matter of health and like legality and protection of people. Like, what's the fight about?
Good question. So we're a for-profit venture-backed company. We're not a nonprofit company. And all of our criticism has actually been from the Democratic Party, who are very, very anti-capitalist. We're not making tons of money, right? We're a startup company, you know, and yes, we are a C Corp in Delaware, but we're doing something that's very social enterprise. However, we've gotten a lot of backlash for being a for-profit company. That's number one. Second thing, they thought it wasn't going to be admissible in a court of law, which we already proved during COVID. Now, the thing is you can't prove that concept of admissibility when you're 28 days into starting a company, because like our product didn't even exist yet, right? It was kind of putting the cart before the horse in that realm. And then the third thing was that they essentially said we weren't providing the entire hospital experience, which is true, because we're not a hospital and you can't provide a hospital experience within a home. You can try to replicate it with telemedicine, which is what we're doing, and at-home testing and Plan B and over-the-counter things that, you know, now because of COVID, we've been able to bring kind of more of the doctor hospital experience. But that was a really big point of controversy as well. We also got a lot of bad press from nonprofits who, now looking back on it, you know, it was kind of those 3 points, but also there's a lot of friction there where they thought it's kind of like a turf battle. And you're going to see turf battles happen in whatever industry, whether it's for-profit to for-profit, nonprofit to for-profit, federal government to for-profit, whatever you are, where they're basically thinking that you're entrenching like on their space. And that's definitely what happened with us as well.
It's interesting that people are against it just because you're for profit. I mean, there's so many for-profit businesses that are kind of philanthropic, and you know, it's still a good cause. So I fail to see why that matters really, but I guess, you know.
Right. It was a little odd to me too, Melissa, when I was talking to Madison about this, because we see so many social ventures that are for-profit ventures here in San Diego and the entrepreneurship space. I was really shocked when I heard that too. So
the for-profit thing was a big thing. So they called me names like neoliberal capitalist, a dirty scammer trying to make a quick buck, profiting off of the Me Too movement, profiting off of sexual assault survivors. When we could put this with anything. Oh, doctors are profiting off of COVID patients. Oh, like, you know, funeral homes are profiting off of the dying. Like, you see what I mean? Like, you could literally do it in any other way. But yeah, those were the words they used.
Yeah, I suspect that there's some misogyny at play in there, and that I mean, the fact that you're a young woman, I think has a lot to do with that as well. So it's really upsetting, really, really
I
upsetting.
think there's this general notion of, women who want to innovate and we want to do all this good thing in the world that, culturally speaking, right, we've always been the ones at nonprofits and raising money. And those are all great, but like, where's our money? Like, we deserve money. The reason why the gender pay gap is so much is because we're not out there demanding capital. And I am like, look, I want to solve this major societal problem. Also, if I solve this major societal problem, or any other woman solves cancer or this or that, we all deserve to have a boat and an island and everything, right? That is something that we should not have to, I think, as minorities, underrepresented founders, do all the hard work and then not get financially compensated for that. That's ridiculous.
I absolutely 100% agree with you, and I think that that there is definitely some latent misogyny at play there. And there's a really interesting study that's been done on female entrepreneurs. Not only is there a gender pay gap when you look at female employees, but female entrepreneurs, there's a gender pay gap. We pay ourselves less.
Yeah.
Right? That's problematic. That's really interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, okay. Any other questions? And then I'll move on to kind of like PR strategy.
I think we're good in the questions, it looks like we're good. Most of them are just comments right now. So, yeah.
Okay, cool, guys.
Wonderful, good.
Okay. So the 6 rules about the press. So 1, the press is influenced by outside factors, aka people with money or power. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this in the political elections, but the majority of times, when you want to get, kind of understand what the press is and where they're motivated, it is with money and it is with power. Rule 2, when they go low, we go high, which was said by Michelle Obama. So when the press goes and attacks you, try to go high, not, use the same tactics as they do. So you can look at Trumpian tactics, right? They will, he will go on Twitter, he will attack people. When you're getting those attacks, try not to attack back, like in the same vein. Try to go higher and try to be the better person. Although it's very, very difficult, I'll tell you, because I definitely have had witty remarks that I wanted to say and I did not say them. Quality over quantity, SEO and domain power matter more. So in finding, press outlets to cover you, you guys might be aware of things called SEO, which is search engine optimization, and domain power or domain authorization. That's basically how trustworthy the website or the article or piece of press is to Google. So a BuzzFeed, New York Times is going to be a much bigger, kind of news article, go further up in the Google search for your company or your name. If you search my name, you'll see like BuzzFeed News comes up. It's like one of the first because it has a very strong domain authority. And so when you're looking at like what press you want to cover your company or yourself, really look at the domain authority. Do a lot of quality press outlets versus a lot of not so quality press outlets in terms of quantity. Think about every word they're looking for is clickbait. So reporters and these outlets are looking for a catchy title. Like, what makes you click on something? You need to think of, kind of your company or what you're doing in that way to get the article. So like, I think I don't even remember kind of the clickbaity titles, but it was basically like, Madison Campbell says she'll fight the government, or Madison Campbell like says this, or North Carolina Attorney General calls Madison Campbell a dirty scammer. Like, you need to think of these clickbait titles and you control the narrative, you think of them. And if you can think of them, you can utilize that to your advantage, right? Do the work for the reporter, bring them the story. So basically, when you are approaching a reporter, not only are you looking for what is that clickbait title that they can sell their editor very quickly, but also bring them all of the research work, bring them all the pieces, kind of compile that together in like a nice little package that you're giving to them. So it makes their life a lot easier. And then rule 6, be yourself and let that shine. I definitely at times felt like I needed to be a different human than I am, to kind of put on that face and be like, oh, you know, I say this, I say that. That was definitely wrong. I believe you should be yourself. You know, you should let that mission, let that narrative shine through. And that's really going to, you know, be what actually gravitates your fans to what you're doing. Okay. Now, I don't recommend like usually reading books, right? I'm so busy as a CEO. I honestly wish I read more books than I did. But the best book to ever read, this is why it's an entire slide, is Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday was the chief marketing officer of American Apparel, and the way that they did a grassroots approach on marketing and media is insane and amazing, and you guys need to read this. So the book is very, very short. You can get a PDF on Kindle. Tanya, I might even have a PDF I can send you so you can send everyone. But super great. And the first section is basically like telling you exactly how to kind of work your way up in the press, right? It is so amazing, such a great book. And those tactics I didn't really use, but they were tactics that were really, really great now looking back. Now I'm going to kind of go into a couple things that were mentioned in the book, but definitely read the book. It's super great. So first, blogs. Why are blogs important? So when you can't get a BuzzFeed, New York Times, Washington Post to cover you, what you need to do is you need to think like a reporter. So what is a reporter doing? A reporter is looking for a story. How are they finding that story? They're searching through blogs that have a high amount of trust. And these blogs are very hungry for traffic, right? They're hungry for stories. Pitching your story to a blog is a lot easier than a very big outlet. And so you need to think of the reporter that you want to eventually get in touch with. So the New York Times reporter, the BuzzFeed reporter, etc. They're going to look for their content, not on Facebook, maybe on Twitter, not really, but they're going to look for it at a blog that they trust. Getting on that blog then allows you to kind of enter. So if you don't do something as crazy as I did, right? Which I'm all for at the end talking about like, what are your ideas? What kind of PR stunts could you do that could gravitate a lot of big controversial attention? But if you kind of want to work your way up, start at a blog that has been known for kind of getting those stories first, and then, you know, kind of position that for the reporter that's eventually going to see that blog. And like I said, major news outlets use blogs to fill their paper programs, and 89% of journalists reported using blogs for their research or stories. So that is something super important, and you should be able to kind of take the topic area that you know would look at. So whether it's tech or blockchain or gov tech or insure tech, whatever it is, try to find a blog in that niche market, and then go to the blog and pitch your story, knowing that that could be the first kind of entryway into getting broader into a lot more press. Legacy media. So legacy media is really media like the New York Times, these bigger outlets. It's a mixture of offline and online. Share the same URL so you can get aggregated into Google News. That's really important. There's also something called Flipboard, which will allow you to put your article in, and that will kind of aggregate it out. And then look at the sister sites of large companies and try to see kind of how they're being mentioned in the news and use that same protocol for yourself. National media. Goal is to get as many views as possible from the reporter. What does that mean? It's looking back at that clickbaity title. Their job as a reporter is really, their job depends on getting as many clicks to that article. As a you know, national media outlet, they are selling advertisers on advertisements that sit on their site. And so in order to get those advertisers to pay lots and lots of money in advertisements, they need to have clickbaity titles that brings consumers to the site to read information. And that's kind of what you're trying to do, right? You're creating that clickbaity title, you're packaging up that story really nicely, and you're basically going and saying, we're going to get you tons of clicks. This is going to be very impressive with your viewership. And this is kind of, you know, what the story is. Look at the goal outlet and tailor your story to the outlet. So New York Post, BuzzFeed, New York Times, Washington Post, The Cut, Vox, Forbes, TechCrunch, they all have a different viewership. TechCrunch is going to be really focused on the tech community. BuzzFeed is going to be kind of all over the place. Tailor your story to that national outlet. Trading up the chain. So as I was talking about, major news outlets use blogs to fill their paper programs. And then major news outlets also seek stories from legacy media outlets, and your story is already tailored to their style. So that kind of goes back into the two things I talked about in national media and legacy media, using that to trade up the chain in order to really kind of get those, a lot of clicks, get your story running and kind of create that virality in which you're going to get 0 to 1,000 individual press mentions. So I always like to end all my presentations on, what side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of history that creates these products, that creates these companies that are going to go viral, that are going to, go crazy in the press, also create a lot of impact, or are you kind of okay with the status quo, which I know basically everyone on here is not okay with the status quo, or you wouldn't be an entrepreneur or kind of being here to begin with. But I really just kind of want to open this up to, doing some back and forth, talking about some of your ideas around press, and answering any questions. I really kind of like that forum discussion a lot better than presentations to begin with.
Thank you so much, Madison. That was really just, I think, a great story. And so, like I said, just right now, what we're going through as entrepreneurs, a lot of the student founders are just getting started on using the media to get their name out there. And I'm sure that they would really love to attract some media attention. So questions, do we have questions from the audience? I see that there's some in the chat to start with, and it looks like Martin Danner said, do YouTube videos attract media attention like blogs?
It depends. So I actually have a good friend of mine who had a YouTube series, and it ended up getting picked up by HBO, and now she's pitching them. And she's an entrepreneur. So it does work, but you would have to create very, very compelling content. And so like the content that she was creating on her YouTube was very funny, very comedic. If you're going to put content out there that's very like bland and talking about the product, maybe doing a presentation, I don't think it would attract as many people. So you really have to think about like I said, quality over quantity. You can do a bunch of YouTube videos, but if they aren't edited properly, if it doesn't really have like that kind of clickbaity value, it probably is not going to get picked up as much. It's just maybe writing something interesting or going to a blog to cover you first.
And the nice thing, Martin is actually a great storyteller. So that's, I'd say that's one thing in your favor, Martin.
Yeah, for sure.
Other questions from thank you.
Recommend how we get in touch. Does cold emailing or LinkedIn messaging work well?
Yeah.
So what I recommend doing, and is there anybody's company that we want to kind of use as an example? Anybody that wants to use their company as an example? Anyone? Bueller? Nothing? Okay, cool.
Use ours.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I know that if you pause for a second, I know that there's somebody who's going to say yes, and Karen probably will. Okay, Karen, would you like to give us your elevator pitch? Just a one-liner?
Sure. So our company is called Trendbook. We are a social media platform exclusively for estheticians to help them broadcast their credibility so then they can influence the skincare market on correct skincare for people's physiology.
Okay, cool. So we're talking skincare. So, okay. So first, I kind of want to go into Adriana's question around how to get in connection with reporters, cold emailing or LinkedIn, and we're going to use kind of your skincare company as a way of how I would do that. So first, I would do a couple things. One, I would go and do a deep dive of everybody covering skincare tech. So skincare tech companies, skincare startup companies, look in TechCrunch, VentureBeat, and just look at the funding announcement, look who's covering that, and create a Google document with all of those reporters. And then that would kind of be on like the VentureBeat, TechCrunch, more techie newspaper. Then I would also look like public interest. So like the BuzzFeeds, the like Hello Giggle, like all those kind of like smaller rent newspapers, and find out those reporters also talking about skincare. So that would be the first thing I do. I would create a list. All of their emails should be accessible in that specific like article that they're writing, because usually at the very end it says like, get in touch with me here, or if you have any questions or concerns. So you should be able to scrape kind of all those email addresses from first compiling the list of reporters already understanding and talking about that topic. Same goes with like the blogging thing. I would go Medium and go on Medium and see who's talking about the topic on Medium, and then also reach out to them to see if they'll cover it from a skincare or from a like whatever your niche market is perspective. And then once you get those emails, cold emailing that package, like I said, really keeping that short and sweet. So it's going to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. You know, this is kind of the story. Are you interested? The other thing that you can do in order to really kind of make them want to cover it is say, we're going to give an exclusive to the first person who covers this story, and you can give them a deadline. So you can say, hey, we really want you to cover this story. We saw your article in VentureBeat about like, I'm trying to think of big dermatology company, but like, you know, we saw your thing in VentureBeat about this company. We want to give the exclusive until Friday at 2 p.m. Let us know if you want to cover this. If not, you know, create FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Really make them feel like they're going to lose that story. That story is going to go to another reporter, and they don't want to do that.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And then from a LinkedIn messaging perspective as well, I would only do LinkedIn messages. You can do in-mail or, you know, connection requests that are personalized if the cold email doesn't work. But these people really live on email, specifically legacy and, you know, kind of national media outlets.
My question was next, and it was, how do you prepare for backlash, especially in an industry that's controversial? I mean, we're targeting estheticians to have them replace influencers who give bad skincare advice, and a lot of them hate drugstore skincare, but a lot of people like drugstore skincare. And of course, it's really picking who you're going to make upset. So what would you say in regards to that?
So who are you up against? Who's the biggest player that you think that you're going to piss off the most? The influencers?
I definitely think I will. Once my goal is to really get skincare companies to have people speak on their products who actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Who have been licensed and have gone to specialized trained schools to tell you which cosmetics are going to work best for your skin type, your ethnicity, your skin tone, everything like that. So yeah, I think they would definitely.
Okay, so this goes back to the money point.
Right.
When you are threatening money, like we've done, right? We threaten nonprofit money, we threaten government money, right? That is frightening, but it's also your advantage. So whose money are you threatening? It's these influencers, right? You're threatening their money source. These people don't really like have full-time jobs, right? Like their job is to like sit in front of a camera all day and take nice photos and stuff like that. And they get paid a large amount to post that content. So you are directly threatening their monetary source. That's kind of interesting.
Right.
And I really like that. So if I were you, I would find a celebrity that does a lot of this kind of like influencer type stuff around bad skincare. Somebody probably like under 50,000 followers. So it's like enough you could get it viral and trending. And I would essentially pick your battle like that, because if you get somebody that's kind of that mid-tier influencer, I could totally see, the headline essentially being, I'm going to use Charli D'Amelio, even though like I know she's like a very big, right, influencer, and I don't even think she does like skincare stuff, but what's your company's name? Sorry.
Trendbook.
So Trendbook goes against, Charli D'Amelio's like false advertising. That's also really good words to use. False advertising, fraudulent advertising, like hurting people, right? and you might actually be able to do something that I wasn't able to do, which is, so what the attorney generals like to go after is consumer protection fraud. So you could kind of look at the consumer protection case of it and basically saying like they're misleading consumers, and actually get the attorney generals to be on support of what you're doing, because what you're doing is making sure that these brands and the influencers themselves are not committing consumer protection fraud. Does that make sense? And so Backlash.
That's such a great way to go about that. I just have to say, I'm impressed.
That's so smart. I know.
Yeah,
I'm just like, wow.
Right. But I would pick one person that you want, and I would pick somebody who's on the way out, honestly. So cancel culture is a big thing, right? Like I think of a Hannah Brown. Hannah Brown, I don't know if you guys, so I don't know if anyone watches The Bachelor here, but I'm kind of obsessed with The Bachelor. I hate watch it. I don't like it, but I hate watch it, right? Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Adriana. I hate watching Bachelor. So Hannah Brown, who was the Bachelorette 2 seasons ago, maybe a year ago, I don't know, time is crazy. There was this thing that nobody caught on to, but she actually like got caught on tape saying the N-word, which is really, really bad, and did not get canceled for it. Now, she lost a lot of her viewer base, but did not get canceled for it. And so what I would do is if you're trying to pick a martyr, right, which is what you need a martyr in order to get attention, false advertising, fraudulent advertising, misleading consumers, I would pick somebody who's on the way out, somebody who did something that should have got them canceled, but they weren't fully canceled, there's enough people that already have their pitchfork, and are ready to kind of go to battle. And those would be the influencers I would focus on.
Yeah, on calling them out, on really advertising things for this people, and it's not really.
Yeah. And pick somebody on the way out already, because you want to utilize like the army of fans who got like are already like very anti them and are going to see that and then are going to push it out to the news because it's going to create clicks.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm happy to do this with anyone else too, whether it's here or why don't we do one more case study? Anybody else want to jump in?
Thanks again.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I will. This is Martin.
Hi, Martin.
Hi. All right, so here's my pitch. Conversator is a podcast network designed to create narratives for a better world. Our focus is working with the young leaders of tomorrow to help them develop their digital communication skills. Conversator is a social enterprise.
Oh, sorry. Apologize. My birthday's in 3 days and my friend keeps trying to call me and thank you. She keeps thinking my birthday's today. It's not today. So yeah. Apologies, Martin. Okay, so podcast narrative for a better world. Please continue.
Social enterprise, we focus on young leaders of tomorrow to help them develop their digital communication skills so that they can make a difference.
Okay, that doesn't sound controversial at all.
Oh, darn.
Damn. Okay, so who are you pissing off?
Well, it depends on what these young leaders of tomorrow pick as topics. I'm thinking they'd pick things like, things that affect young people. I think is something as big as climate change, or maybe something like what you're working on. Campus safety, that sort of thing.
So interesting. So you need to create a digital divide of people that either love your platform, right? You're doing this platform, creating this better narrative, and creating the better narrative. You want to talk about these big societal issues, right? Sexual assault, sexual violence, gender inequality, climate change.
You're onto it.
Yeah. The best thing that I would do in your case then is, after publishing a lot of that content and trying to brand yourself as that leader, go and find these students in the alt-right. They'll create tons of controversy. So like go as far crazy as you can. Mm-hmm. So college students, there's these group of college students, like very, very alt-right. They all fall under something called Turning Point USA. It's this organization, very like Donald Trump focused, like very, very activist press people. It's by, it's all under this guy named Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is kind of this leader of these like young student activists who hate climate change, thinks it's a hoax, are racist or horrible people, right? Well, not, I mean, and that's a generalization, but in general, like a lot of people don't like them, right? Yeah, see, turning point is nuts, they're like a cult. Thank you. So all you need to do is aggravate the turning point people, and you'll get tons and tons of positive content to your site, because so many people know that TPUSA is like crazy. And if you get them against it, you'll actually get the consumers that you want onto the platform. And pissing off Turning Point will be very, very simple. You can piss off Turning Point USA. Campus Reform is also another one. And then Young Americans for Freedom or Young Americans Foundation, something like that. And then what I would do is, once you get kind of like that one arrow from like, you get a Charlie Kirk to, you know, say, oh my God, I hate this platform. I can't believe they're spreading all this stuff. Turning Point USA has this massive subreddit. And it's called TPUSA, and they make fun of it on Reddit at like Toilet Paper USA. Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is Reddit is a really good like outlet to post it and start it to go viral. So if you like get one person in Turning Point USA to not really like you, then you get it on TPUSA, which is like a meme dank lord, right? Like subreddit. Then I really think you could get that virality, but you do kind of have to create an enemy. And in this, like, there's very few enemies, right? Like, you're creating like better narratives, you're creating this better world. So what you really are going to need to do is go completely the other side, right?
Wow. Okay.
Does it have to be controversy, Madison? I mean, can you go viral? Can you get attention without being controversial? Anyway.
So, you know, Donald Trump was elected on controversy, and unfortunately this world revolves around controversy, and there's something controversial to everything. Look, you can do puff pieces, right? And you can sell the story but it's just, you know, Martin from San Diego creates this better, you know, a better podcast narrative to help all these people. Great story. We love it. We think what you're doing is amazing. Is that going to get clicks? Like, you know, it's hard. It's really hard, right?
Sure.
And so you kind of have to think of that controversial nature and that clickbaity topic. And so I'm so far like this is like the crazy thing, and then you can like level down my crazy, right? And then move forward with it. But I'm ready to tell you, like, this is, if you want to go viral, you do kind of have to think crazy. You know, say what you will about Donald Trump, but he knows how to manage the press because he says crazy shit. Like, it's just crazy shit all the time. And they love it. They eat it up. They eat it up. Like, he just said this crazy shit, right?
I understand the dynamic there. You know, you stir the pot and it gets some attention. My concern with the suggestion you gave is that when you start stirring up the alt-right nest, you know, that could get potentially dangerous.
Dangerous as in like security wise, or like dangerous as in like the company?
Yeah, I mean, you might end up attracting the attention of violent people.
Oh, I mean, if you're worried about that, so I had someone follow me home. Because think about me, right? So what we're doing is, if we do everything correctly, our sexual assault kits will put people in jail. People don't want to go to jail. You know, like, this is bad. So, you know, who I kind of have on my back end is like rapists, right? Who are not going to be happy that I created this product that is going to eventually like end them to, you know, whether they end up on a registry, they end up this, end up that. So don't be afraid. You know, I say don't be afraid. And also saying that protect your contact information, protect where you live, keep all of that like very secretive, very quiet. You should not be, you know, putting that out there. But I mean, everyone has a bone to pick with someone. Fear of retaliation. A lot of these people are all like, you know, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. They don't do anything. So I wouldn't worry that much.
Okay.
Yeah. When working with kids, be very protective of their privacy as well. Yeah. But I'm also one of those people, I'm like, I'm okay. I'll put my reputation on the line. Worst thing that happens is, I'm fighting this cause. I believe in it so much. I'm willing to literally put my life on the line for this. If you're talking with, specific folks that you're working with, like, be very careful, right? I may my co-founder, for instance, is an immigrant, right? She does not have her visa yet. And so we never put her into the press because we don't want her to get deported. So I would always put myself out there as a white woman in America, have tons of privilege. I can basically handle it, but really be protective, not only of kids, but also of anybody, who's kind of in that underrepresented kind of area in your company, and make sure you're protecting them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Madison.
Great advice. So I think we just have about 5 minutes left before everybody probably needs to go on to their various midterms of the day. But I was wondering if there's anything, Madison, that you want to make sure to touch on, or just to leave everyone with.
I mean, listen with what I say in one ear, and then make a decision that works for you guys, right? So I am, I'm totally the crazy person, right? You can tone down everything I say, and do it for what works for you. But when you need somebody to come and give you these crazy ideas, please, I'm willing to mentor you. Tanya will introduce. I'm here for you. I'll give you the crazy ideas, and you can be like, wow, Madison, that is really, really crazy. I'm not going to do that. And you can be like, fine, great, but I find it often very difficult to find people that will give you crazy ideas. People will give you very sane ideas, but crazy ideas, those people are once in a million.
It's like the people who tell you the truth. When you find someone who tells you the truth, you hang on to it, whether you like it or not, right?
Yeah.
So wonderful. Thank you so much, Madison, for being here. Thank you all for being here during your very busy midterm week. I know it was definitely worth it. So I really appreciate this, and I'm sure that we'll be seeing you again soon. Thank you to all, and we will see you all again at the next workshop. Take care.
Guys.
Bye, everyone.
Do you want to take a group snapshot?
I think well, here, let me see if I can, if people are still here. Yeah, no one's left. Good. We can, if you want to, we can take a picture really quickly. It's up to you. If you do want your picture taken with us together, turn on your camera. Thank you for reminding me, Rohan. And what's that?
Quick reminder, there's a SurveyMonkey link on the chat. If you could please complete that and give Madison some nice comments. She definitely deserves it. So
Or bad comments. I'm totally used to it, so don't worry.
I love it. All right. So
with Madison?
We're going to take a picture really quickly, and 3, 2, 1, and cheese. Okay. So what were you saying, Melissa?
How can we get in touch with Madison?
So we'll share her information to the Rec Innovation Lab students through our platform, Rec Connect, our harness platform.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then you'll be able to reach out to her through there. So
awesome. That was a great talk. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.